There are lives that glow with such quiet brilliance, they illuminate the darkest corners of the world. Tonight, as eyes begin to grow heavy, let the story of one such soul wrap softly around your thoughts, a story of unwavering love, profound sacrifice, and a passion that transcended boundaries. This is the life of Mother Teresa, a name that echoes through time as a beacon of hope and compassion. But beyond the familiar, there are whispers of unknown truths, tender moments, and lessons hidden within her journey that beckon us to listen closely. Imagine a little girl born on a warm summer day, August 26, 1910, in a city now called Skopje, nestled within the folds of what was once the Ottoman Empire. Her name was Agnes Gonksha Boyakshiu, names that would one day give way to a title spoken around the world with reverence. Little Agnes was the youngest of 3 children in a devout Albanian Catholic family, in a home where faith was not just spoken but lived with quiet intensity. From her earliest days, the seeds of service were planted as she watched her mother tend to the poor and sick in their community. By the tender age of 12, during a pilgrimage to Lourdes alongside her mother, that seed took root, a deep call stirring within her soul. This wasn't just a fleeting childhood fancy, but a calling that would shape every breath she took thereafter. At 18, Agnes left everything familiar to join the Sisters of Loreto, a congregation of Irish nuns dedicated to missionary work. She journeyed far to Ireland, where months of intense training prepared her for an even greater challenge: the streets of Calcutta, India, a city of staggering contrasts. Calcutta, vibrant yet overwhelmed by poverty, became her new home, a world where she taught young girls but also saw, with her own eyes, the desperate suffering lurking nearby. Here is where curiosity gently nudges us. Do you know the hunger she herself endured? When Agnes arrived in India, she had neither salary nor steady food, and often had to beg on streets not unlike the ones filled with destitute lives she soon vowed to serve. Imagine that humility, the future saint begging for a morsel, feeling firsthand the deep ache of emptiness. This intimate encounter with suffering would fuel a compassion both raw and resolute. Years went by, and a remarkable moment arrived on a train journey. Picture the rhythm of the wheels between Calcutta and Darjeeling, a train chugging through misty hills. On September 10, 1946, Agnes experienced what she called a call within a call, a profound inner stirring that summoned her to leave the convent life of teaching and venture out to serve the poorest of the poor directly in the slums. This showed the courage that would define her life, willing to risk everything for love's sake. By 1948, she dressed not in the habit of the Loreto sisters, but in a simple white sari edged with blue, a garment as humble as her mission was grand. She stepped barefoot onto the dusty lanes of the Calcutta slums, beginning what would become a lifelong crusade of mercy. This transition wasn't easy. Imagine the loneliness of leaving behind familiar faces and comforts without knowing what lay ahead. Many doubted her. Some mocked her simplicity. Yet with every patient step, she planted seeds of hope. Pause for a moment and reflect. What in your life feels small, insignificant, or too daunting? Mother Teresa teaches that even the smallest act of kindness, the quietest gesture of love, can ripple through the ocean of humanity, changing the world drop by drop. Can you feel the power in that? Her work began with caring for those whom society had discarded, the sick, the dying, the forgotten. She carried no medical degree but an immense heart, and she learned as she went, treating wounds with tender hands, comforting the broken, feeding the hungry. Her efforts grew, and in 1950 she founded the Missionaries of Charity, a congregation devoted to serving the hungry, the naked, the homeless, the crippled, the blind, the lepers, all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared for throughout society. Let your eyelids grow heavier but your heart remain open as the story unfolds. When this was a woman who didn't just speak about love but lived it, day after relentless day. And did you know Mother Teresa once said, "Spread love everywhere you go. Let no one ever come to you without leaving happier." She believed that beyond hunger and illness, the deepest poverty was feeling unloved and unwanted. This quiet wisdom invites us to look not only outward, but inward, to notice the ways we can be light in another's darkness. In a world that often prizes loud achievements and grand gestures, she chose faithfulness in the small things, the gentle touch, the smile, the presence beside a suffering stranger. She understood that mountains are moved not only by great leaps, but by countless small steps taken relentlessly. What tiny step might you take today with faith and love, no matter how ordinary it feels? Her life was not free from struggle. Behind the saintly image, she wrestled with doubts and dryness of spirit known as the dark night of the soul, a shadowed period where God seemed distant. Yet her faith endured, teaching us that even the strongest hearts face moments of darkness, that perseverance is not the absence of struggle, but the courage to continue despite it. Mother Teresa's mission spread far beyond Calcutta. Her Missionaries of Charity blossomed into a global family serving the poor in over 30 countries. She amassed more than 120 honors, including the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979, not for power or wealth, but for love in action. Yet she remained humble, often saying, "God has not called me to be successful. He has called me to be faithful." As this gentle narrative begins to settle in your thoughts, consider this. What does faithfulness mean in your life? How might you live a life that matters, not in grand accolades, but in quiet, persistent love? The legacy of Mother Teresa is an open invitation to serve, to suffer with, to love without limits. And when you awaken, may you carry this peace, this inspiration, softly like a lantern in your heart, lighting the way through your days. As the quiet night deepens, let the story of Mother Teresa's journey into global recognition unfold softly in your mind. In 1979, nearly 3 decades after she first stepped barefoot into the streets of Calcutta's poorest quarters, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Imagine the moment she stood in the grand hall of the University of Oslo, Norway, amid applause and ceremony. Yet, true to her spirit, she refused the lavish banquet typically held for laureates, asking instead that the substantial cost be given to the poor. How deeply her heart beat for those nameless souls forgotten by the world. Her acceptance speech wasn't filled with grand political rhetoric or calls for power. Instead, it echoed the purest message of love and peace. She spoke of love as the most powerful force on earth, a force that could bridge divides and heal wounds unseen. In her gentle voice, she taught the world something profoundly simple. Go home and love your family. Her words remind us that peace isn't found in distant lands or grand gestures, but often at the dinner table, in whispered apologies, and in daily acts of kindness. What captivates the heart is her willingness to expose the raw truth beneath the surface of her mission. She spoke openly about the greatest destroyer of peace, the cry of innocent unborn children, fiercely denouncing abortion with a courage rare on the world stage. Despite the controversy, her voice remained steady, reminding us of the sanctity of life at every stage. This was a woman who lived by conviction, caring enough to speak uncomfortable truths because she believed that peace begins with the respect we hold for life itself. Behind the scenes, by 1979, the Missionaries of Charity had grown from a modest group into a global family, with over 1,000 sisters and hundreds of novices caring for thousands of people suffering from leprosy, HIV, AIDS, and tuberculosis. Homes for the dying, soup kitchens, dispensaries, mobile clinics all bore witness to a compassion that transcended borders and language. During her Nobel lecture, Mother Teresa shared deeper reflections. She told the gathering that when she picked up a hungry person from the street and fed them, she had removed physical hunger. Simple, direct, tangible. But there was another hunger she found far harder to satisfy, the hunger for love, for acceptance, for the sense of being wanted. She described this as the deepest poverty, when a person feels unloved, unwanted, and shut out from society. This, she said, is the poverty of the modern world, something far more difficult to heal. Pause now and breathe this in. In a world that often measures success through wealth, status, or fame, Mother Teresa's definition of poverty challenges us to look beyond. How often do we overlook those who are starving, not for food, but for kindness and understanding? Can the heart find the courage to meet this hunger? Her refusal to accept the ceremonious celebrations thrust upon her after receiving the Nobel Prize mirrors her lifelong belief that fame was a distraction from true service. The prize money she redirected, the attention she drew to the destitute, it all spoke of a soul untethered from worldly reward. Her faith was her anchor, and her measure of success was faithfulness to the call she heard so many years ago on that train ride. Imagine the humility in asking a world full of applause to remember that peace begins in the humble places of our lives, in our families, and in heart open to love. Her prayer of peace, borrowed from Saint Francis of Assisi, echoed as a humble plea. To be a channel of peace, love, forgiveness, hope, and light amidst hatred, despair, and sadness. In this stillness, feel the invitation that Mother Teresa extends not only to witness her extraordinary life, but to find ways, no matter how small, to embody peace in daily living. What might peace look like in your own heart tonight? How can love growing quietly within you ripple outwards in your actions tomorrow? As you drift gently, remember she once said, "Do small things with great love." It is in the smallest acts, the unseen sacrifices, that a legacy is built. The story of Mother Teresa is not just a tale of greatness far away, but a mirror reflecting the extraordinary potential lying within ordinary lives. When the dawn breaks, carry this thought. Greatness is not measured by accolades, but by the depth of love lived out faithfully in simple moments. Let the softness of night guide you further into the gentle embrace of a remarkable life, a life that quietly shaped the hearts of millions. Now let us wander into the lesser-known paths of Mother Teresa's journey, those moments and details that often slip beneath the surface but hold deep treasures of inspiration. You may already know her as a saint to the world, but did you know that Mother Teresa's identity was woven from many threads? She was born Angeze Gongshe Boyakshu on August 26, 1910, in Skopje, a city then under Ottoman rule, now the capital of North Macedonia. Her roots were Albanian, and she carried the rich, vibrant heritage of a people known for their fierce pride and warmth. Imagine young Agnes as a child, surrounded by a home filled with prayer, love, and the quiet example of a mother who cared deeply for the poor and suffering. Her childhood was steeped in faith and an early, unshakable commitment to God that began at the tender age of 12, a devotion that would live and breathe through all her days. At 18, she took one of the most courageous steps of her life, leaving behind family and homeland forever to join the Sisters of Loreto and begin training in Dublin, Ireland. From there, she embarked on an arduous journey to India. It was a voyage not only across oceans, but into the heart of unknown poverty and human suffering. What few realize is that once in India, Mother Teresa experienced hunger herself. Yes, the future saint who would feed thousands first felt the gnawing pangs of emptiness. With no income and scarce provisions in the early days, she was often forced to beg alongside those she sought to serve. Her humility knew no bounds, and through this deep personal encounter with want, her compassion was forged in the fire of shared experience. This simple yet profound truth invites reflection. How might true empathy be born not from intention alone, but from walking through suffering alongside others? She began as a humble teacher at St. Mary's High School for Girls in Calcutta, where, without the luxury of modern supplies, she ingeniously taught her pupils by writing in the mud and using sticks, transforming every tiny resource into a lesson of hope. It was a testament not only to her grit, but to the power of creativity and steadfastness when surrounded by scarcity. This teaching period was a seedbed for her later mission. The faces of impoverished children left indelible marks on her soul. The turning point came on a train journey on September 10, 1946. Picture the landscape blurring outside the window, the rhythmic clatter of wheels beneath, as her heart stirred, with a call within a call. In that moment, she heard the deeper summons to leave the convent walls behind and enter the slums to serve the poorest of the poor. It was a call that demanded everything, a leap into radical love and sacrifice that few would dare. 2 years later, dressed in a simple white sari bordered with blue, she stepped out alone into the shadowed lanes of Calcutta's poorest neighborhoods, beginning a path no one could have imagined. Pause and let that image sink in, the solitary figure moving barefoot through the dirt roads, carrying only faith and fierce love as her companions. Here is a reflection for every heart listening now. How often do we wait for perfect conditions before stepping into the unknown? Mother Teresa teaches that faith is the courage to begin, even when the future is uncertain and the path is unpaved. Her Missionaries of Charity, founded in 1950 with 12 members in a small rented house, flourished into a global family that numbered thousands. They didn't start with hospitals or large medical centers. Instead, their first sanctuary was a simple home for the dying, where the terminally ill were cared for with dignity and tenderness. This home, though lacking modern medical equipment by today's standards, was rich in something infinitely more precious: human love. The sisters held hands, washed sores, whispered prayers, and ensured no one faced their final moments alone. In this humble care, Mother Teresa's belief shone bright. Every person, no matter how destitute, deserved respect and love. One of the most touching, lesser-known stories involves a dying man covered in worms, whom Mother Teresa found on the streets and tenderly cared for. There was an American journalist who came to interview her, skeptical and even critical of her work. While Mother Teresa was removing the worms from the man's body, the journalist arrived in stilettos, a stark contrast that could not have been more dramatic. Yet, Mother Teresa welcomed her without judgment, and with gentle humor said, "Be patient. At my age I can no longer see well. Would you help me?" Moved profoundly by her humility and mercy, the reporter was brought to tears and later became an admirer. This moment carries a quiet lesson. True compassion breaks down barriers and melts hearts, transcending pride and prejudice. Throughout her years, Mother Teresa received more than 120 awards and honors, yet she was never captivated by fame or riches. Among those accolades were the Padma Shri and Bharat Ratna from India, the Ramon Magsaysay Peace Prize, and of course, the Nobel Peace Prize. But the one award she treasured most was the love she gave and received, a love that multiplied silently through her order's selfless service in more than 100 countries. Did you know the international airport in Tirana, Albania, is named in her honor? The Tirana International Airport, Nene Teresa, stands not only as a tribute, but as a symbol, one that connects the world's journeys, just as Mother Teresa's life connected countless souls across continents through compassion. Reflect for a moment on the vastness of her impact, From that small, cold room she called home, furnished only with a cot and a table, to the bustling streets of Calcutta and beyond. Her focus was never on grandeur, but on intimacy, the tiny moments of shared humanity. Her tombstone bears the humble inscription she desired: "I can do no great things, only small things with great love." Let that echo in your heart. Greatness is measured not by the magnitude of deeds, but by the love embedded within them. Her life wasn't without controversy or hardship. Some questioned the conditions in her homes, others challenged her conservative stance on issues like abortion and contraception, yet she stood unwavering, rooted deeply in her faith and conviction that every life was sacred. These struggles reveal another truth, that to live a life of courage and principle often means standing firm amid storms, answering calls that may not always be popular. In her lifetime, Mother Teresa carried a paradox within her, a fierce public stature alongside an intensely private spiritual struggle. She endured what she called the dark night of the soul, a long period of spiritual dryness and doubt where she felt abandoned by God. In letters and confessions revealed after her death, she expressed the loneliness and pain of this silence in her soul. Yet through it all, she remained faithful, continuing her work without complaint. This hidden depth invites us to realize that even the brightest lights can endure shadows, and that perseverance is an act of faith in itself. As your eyelids grow heavy, consider the wealth of lessons found in the life of this extraordinary woman, the power of small acts done with great love, the courage to step into unknown callings, the profound dignity of every human being, and above all, the persistent flame of faith that carries us through darkness. Her story is not only history, but a living invitation to meet suffering with compassion, to live with humility, and to love without limits. So, let yourself drift with this thought. What small act of kindness might you sow tomorrow? What silent revolution could begin in your own heart, inspired by a woman who taught the world that love does not require fame, only fidelity? When morning breaks, may the inspiration of Mother Teresa's life stir softly within, nudging you toward a world lit by grace and tenderness. As the night deepens its calm embrace, the story moves gently toward the closing chapters of Mother Teresa's earthly journey, a chapter marked by grace, trials, and a legacy that outlived her physical presence. She was a woman who devoted more than half a century to a city overflowing with suffering, Calcutta, now Kolkata, the place she called home in spirit and in heart. In the years leading to her final days, Mother Teresa's health began to falter. Imagine the strong, barefoot figure who once trekked tirelessly through the slums, now slowed by a heart burdened with age and disease. In 1983, while visiting Pope John Paul II in Rome, she suffered a heart attack, a silent reminder that even those who give their strength endlessly must face their fragility. Yet, her spirit remained invincible. After another heart attack in 1989, she received a pacemaker but refused to let illness define her. Despite pneumonia and the toll of years steeped in selfless labor, she carried on, the light of her mission undimmed by the shadows of physical decline. Reflect on this poignant truth. The greatest warriors often endure battles both visible and unseen. Mother Teresa's perseverance, even in frail health, teaches us that true strength is not the absence of weakness, but the courage to continue despite it. Calcutta, the city that had both broken and shaped her, stood witness to her relentless service until the very end. In 1952, she opened the Kalighat Home for the Dying, transforming an abandoned Hindu temple into a sanctuary where even those abandoned by all could die with dignity. It was here, in those final moments lived among the poor and forgotten, that she believed true love was expressed most deeply. "A beautiful death," she said, is for people who lived like animals to die like angels, loved and wanted. This profound compassion is a mirror for our own lives. How might we bring dignity, even in the final hours, to those society overlooks? In her final years, Mother Teresa faced not only physical ailments but also the immense responsibility of guiding the Missionaries of Charity, a global family of thousands serving in over 100 countries. Despite offering to resign amid health struggles, her sisters voted unanimously for her to continue, an acknowledgement of her irreplaceable role as mother, leader, and inspiration. Imagine her last public visits, frail yet resolute, meeting with the Pope and receiving visitors, all while preparing to pass the mantle to a new generation of missionaries. On March 13th, 1997, at age 87, Mother Teresa stepped down as Superior General of the Missionaries of Charity. The world seemed to hold its breath as the glowing light of her presence began to dim. But death was not an end for her. It was a final passage into an eternal legacy. On September 5th, 1997, Mother Teresa's earthly journey concluded. Her death reverberated far beyond India, touching hearts worldwide. Calcutta, the city she loved and served like a mother to her children, poured out grief and gratitude. Tens of thousands lined the streets in heavy rain to pay their respects, holding on to banners and flowers with trembling hands, seeking to honor the woman who had given them hope. Her body lay in repose at St. Thomas Church, a simple place now filled with the scent of thousands of blossoms and the quiet prayers of countless souls. The line to view her stretched for over a mile, a testament to the profound impact she had made. Despite the summer heat causing her body's slow decay, the people refused to forsake their vigil. This outpouring of love was not limited to any faith or social class. Rich and poor, believers and skeptics alike came to honor a life lived in extraordinary charity. The Indian government accorded her a state funeral rarely bestowed upon anyone outside political power, a symbol of the unparalleled honor in which she was held. The Pope sent Cardinal Angelo Sodano to deliver the homily, describing Mother Teresa as a flame of love whose light was needed more than ever in the world. This tribute from the highest ranks of the Church reverberated as a call to continue her mission, to be that light in dark places. Among those mourning was a wide array of voices: prime ministers, religious leaders, countless volunteers, and everyday people whose lives she touched. Pakistan's Prime Minister called her a rare and unique individual, and former UN Secretary-General Javier Pérez de Cuellar said, "She is the United Nations. She is peace in the world." In her final days, even as her body weakened, Mother Teresa's spirit shone brightly through a legacy sewn with threads of humility and love. Her tomb in the Mother House of the Missionaries of Charity became a pilgrimage site, a sacred place where people of all faiths gather to remember and draw inspiration. Remember, even the strongest among us must eventually surrender to the quiet call of rest. Yet Mother Teresa's life reminds us that the seeds we sow in love will bloom long after we are gone. A state funeral, global mourning, and the honor of sainthood are mere echoes of a far deeper truth, that love lived faithfully creates an eternal ripple. Her inner life, hidden from public view, revealed moments of deep spiritual struggle, lonely periods she described as the dark night of the soul. In these times, she felt distant from the very God she served, but her faith never wavered. Instead, it grew in its endurance. This vulnerability invites us to trust that moments of darkness are part of the journey, not the end of it. So, as your thoughts begin to soften into the quiet rhythms of night, consider what it means to live a life of unwavering faith, to carry the light even when shadows gather. Mother Teresa teaches us that humility, perseverance, and ceaseless love weave the fabric of a life truly lived. As the story rests here for now, may this reflection settle in the heart as deep and enduring as the streets Mother Teresa walked barefoot, reminding us that the real measure of a life is found not in years, but in the love given without restraint. As the night wraps around you and dreams whisper their gentle promises, the story of Mother Teresa moves beyond her lifetime into the realm of lasting reverence, the process by which the world honored her as a saint. Her journey to sainthood reveals not only the depth of her impact, but the extraordinary faith that carried her even after passing from this world. Mother Teresa died on September 5, 1997 in Calcutta, surrounded by the city she had served for over 45 years. Her death marked the end of a remarkable earthly pilgrimage, but it was just the beginning of a new chapter in the hearts of millions who longed to see her legacy sealed by the Catholic Church's highest honor. Normally, the canonization process demands a waiting period of 5 years after death before any formal cause can be opened. But in Mother Teresa's case, Pope John Paul II waived nearly 3 years of this period, an indication of the urgency and depth of recognition her life inspired. In 1999, she was declared the servant of God, the first step in the intricate journey towards sainthood. The process itself is long and meticulous, designed to honor only those who have lived lives of heroic virtue. It involves a thorough examination of the person's writings, acts, and witness, seeking to understand not just the public story, but the inner faith that sustained them. In 2001, after extensive investigation, Mother Teresa was declared venerable, recognizing her life as one of profound heroic virtue. But to be beatified, raised to the title Blessed, the Church requires evidence of a miracle attributed to her intercession. The first miracle recognized was the inexplicable healing of Monica Bezra, an Indian woman suffering from a severe abdominal tumor. Monica's doctors deemed her too weak for surgery, yet on September 5, 1998, the first anniversary of Mother Teresa's death, something remarkable happened. A medal, touched to Mother Teresa's body at her funeral, was placed on Monica's swollen abdomen while a sister prayed, "Mother, today is your day. You love the poor. Do something for Monica." Within hours, the tumor vanished without medical explanation. After rigorous investigation, including consultations with 11 doctors, the Vatican officially recognized this as a miraculous cure in 2002. This miracle led to Mother Teresa's beatification in October 2003, drawing vast crowds to St. Peter's Square as the world celebrated the nun who had given everything to the poor. Yet, sainthood required another miracle. The second miracle involved a Brazilian man named Marcilio, who suffered from multiple brain tumors and was in a coma. His wife, desperate for a miracle, prayed fervently for Mother Teresa's intercession. To the astonishment of many, Marcilio recovered fully and went on to live a normal life, defying all medical expectations. After further investigation and approval by the Vatican in 2015, this healing was recognized as the second miracle. On September 4, 2016, nearly 19 years after her death, Mother Teresa was canonized by Pope Francis in a grand ceremony at the Vatican. She became Saint Teresa of Calcutta, a new title honoring her lifetime of selfless service and devotion. Pope Francis called her a generous dispenser of divine mercy, praising her as a shining light in the darkness of suffering and poverty. He described mercy as the salt that gave flavor to her work and the light that shone for those who had no tears left to shed. These words echo across time, inviting all to embody mercy in their own lives. Her path to sainthood also revealed a woman of deep complexity, a woman who wrestled with her faith, felt God's silence, and endured spiritual dryness for decades. Her personal letters released after her death show a soul profoundly tested yet unyielding, a reminder that sanctity is not the absence of struggle, but the perseverance through it. As sleep gently calls, reflect on this. A saint is not a distant figure of perfection, but a human heart willing to love courageously amid doubt and pain. Mother Teresa's story is a testament to faith lived deeply, compassion given freely, and love that transcends even death. Let your spirit rest secure in the knowledge that such faith and love continue to ripple through the world, inspiring quiet revolutions of kindness wherever her name is whispered in prayer or remembered in acts of mercy. When the first light of dawn breaks, carry with you the sacred invitation Mother Teresa leaves behind to be a channel of grace, a humble servant, and a beacon of love in a world that deeply needs it. Now, as the quiet night stretches on, let this story unfold into the sacred journey of Mother Teresa's canonization, the painstaking, profound process by which the Church carefully recognized a life of awe-inspiring virtue and sanctity. After the end of her earthly pilgrimage in 1997, the wheels were set in motion for what would culminate nearly 2 decades later in her being officially named a saint. The process of canonization is no hasty affair. Behind the scenes, there are countless hours spent collecting testimonies, reviewing writings, and examining the person's actions with an unflinching eye. The Church seeks to ensure that sainthood is not mere sentiment, but a title earned through heroic virtue and divine grace. Usually the Church requires a waiting period of 5 years after a person's death before the cause can begin, a time given for the initial fervor to settle and for sober reflection on the person's life. However, in the case of Mother Teresa, Pope John Paul II immediately recognized an urgency in her life and legacy so rare that he waived 3 of those 5 years. This was unprecedented in the modern era and underscored the widespread recognition that her life was a beacon in the darkness of the world. When a cause is officially opened, a person moves into the first stage and is named Servant of God. This is what happened for Mother Teresa in 1999 when her cause was formally introduced in the diocese where she died, Calcutta. Here, meticulous efforts began. Investigators sifted through 76 documents totaling 35,000 pages and interviewed over 100 witnesses, both supporters and detractors, to answer hundreds of detailed questions about her life, actions, and character. This comprehensive examination aimed to understand not only the public moments of her life, but also her private struggles and heroic commitment. The process sought to capture the essence of not a flawless person, but a soul who, despite imperfections and challenges, remained steadfast in love and faith. By 2001, the culmination of this inquiry led to a decisive declaration by Pope John Paul II, recognizing Mother Teresa's heroic virtues. At this point, she was titled Venerable, a public acknowledgement that her life was one of extraordinary goodness and holiness. But the path to beatification and eventually sainthood requires miracles. The Church teaches that miracles attest to a person's sanctity, divine favor, and power of intercession from beyond the grave. Miracles must defy scientific explanation and undergo rigorous medical and theological investigation. Mother Teresa's first recognized miracle involved an Indian woman named Monica Besra, who suffered from a severe abdominal tumor, described by many as cancerous. Conventional medicine had little hope for her, but on the first anniversary of Mother Teresa's death in 1998, something extraordinary happened. A locket containing Mother Teresa's image was placed on Monica's stomach, and she prayed earnestly for healing. Miraculously, Monica's tumor disappeared without any surgical intervention. After exhaustive studies and medical testimonies, the Vatican formally declared this healing miraculous in 2002. This breakthrough miracle paved the way for Mother Teresa's beatification in 2003 when she was given the title Blessed. Yet, sainthood requires a second confirmed miracle. The next was observed thousands of miles away in Brazil in the life of a man named Marcilio. Diagnosed with multiple brain tumors and comatose, his condition seemed hopeless. His loving wife prayed to Mother Teresa, begging for her intercession. Against all odds, he fully recovered, an outcome that confounded medical experts. This miracle, confirmed with equal scrutiny, was approved by Pope Francis in 2015. The grand moment arrived on September 4, 2016, when Pope Francis formally canonized Mother Teresa in St. Peter's Square, Vatican City. Thousands from around the world gathered, drawn not only by faith, but by admiration for a life that transcended religion, a life that showed boundless love and service to humanity. The Pope hailed her as a saint for the world, a dispenser of mercy, whose life shed light on the dignity of the forgotten. Rich and poor, believers and skeptics, many joined in this celebration. In her canonization, the Church affirmed more than her history. It celebrated a living example of compassion, courage, and holiness that continues to inspire every human heart seeking meaning and love. Reflect upon the essence of this journey. The canonization process is both a legal and spiritual quest. It demands truth, humility, and patience. It reminds us that holiness is not instantaneous, but a lifelong pilgrimage of love and faithfulness, a journey that requires everyday acts seen by the heart, if not by the spotlight. Mother Teresa's diaries, her private thoughts, reveal a human being grappling with God's silence, enduring what mystics call the dark night of the soul. This was a decades-long spiritual struggle, yet she never abandoned her mission. Her faith was tested, refined, and ultimately strengthened by endurance, teaching us that sanctity does not mean absence of doubt, but the willingness to keep walking toward love in spite of it. As you surrender to rest tonight, consider this gentle truth. To be saintly is to be courageous enough to love deeply and faithfully, even when answers are scarce and the way is difficult. Mother Teresa's canonization is a reminder that one life lived in humble service can illuminate the darkest corners of the world and inspire countless others to take up love's call. So as darkness whispers its lullaby, let Mother Teresa's story nestle in your heart like a soft flame, urging you to be that light for someone else, to whisper kindness when the world is silent, to offer presence when loneliness threatens, to choose love in small moments every day. When the morning breaks, may this sacred story bloom in your soul, encouraging a quiet revolution of mercy, hope, and grace in your waking world. As the night lulls softly and your breathing deepens, let this story gently carry you into the sacred details of the path Mother Teresa walked toward sainthood, a journey that stretched across years but was filled with divine signs, steadfast faith, and the undeniable imprint of extraordinary love. Her earthly life ended on September 5, 1997, in the city she had made home, the bustling, chaotic streets of Calcutta, where she had spent over 45 years serving the poorest of the poor. But her death marked a beginning of another mission, the recognition of the holiness that had quietly radiated from her soul. Normally, in the Catholic Church, there is a required waiting period of 5 years before investigating the cause for sainthood of any deceased person. This interval provides time for reflection, ensures that reputations are fully settled, and allows for calm discernment. But Mother Teresa's case was unlike any other. The Pope waived nearly 3 of those years, acknowledging the extraordinary impact she had made and the urgent desire of countless souls worldwide to see her sanctified. In 1999, just 2 years after her death, Mother Teresa was officially declared a servant of God, the first stage that marks the beginning of the formal canonization process. From this moment, a comprehensive investigation began, scrutinizing every detail of her life, from the public gestures known to millions to private moments known only through personal writings and testimonies. Over 35,000 pages of documentation were gathered, including her detailed diaries that revealed her deep faith, struggles, and the decades-long spiritual silence she endured. Witnesses, both supportive and critical, came forward to share their insights, ensuring the process was balanced, rigorous, and transparent. This inquiry culminated in 2001 when Pope John Paul II declared her venerable, officially recognizing her life of heroic virtue. This title acknowledged that Mother Teresa's commitment to love, sacrifice, and faith was beyond ordinary human effort, embodying saintly qualities of humility, courage, and compassion. But sainthood requires more than virtue. It demands proof of the miraculous. The Church examines miracles as signs from God, affirming the sanctity of the individual. And for Mother Teresa, 2 miracles were investigated with meticulous care. The first miracle unfolded on the first anniversary of her death in 1998. Monica Besra, a woman in India, suffering from a large abdominal tumor considered inoperable, experienced an astonishing healing. A medal containing the image of Mother Teresa, which had itself been in contact with her body after death, was placed on Monica's swollen abdomen. After a simple prayer, the tumor disappeared inexplicably within hours. 11 doctors, most non-Catholic and many skeptical, examined her case but found no medical explanation. The Vatican declared this a genuine miracle in 2002, paving the way for her beatification the following year. Beatification, the next stage, formally designates a person as blessed, permitting veneration on a local or regional level. On October 19, 2003, Mother Teresa was beatified in a ceremony attended by thousands, including many she had personally touched through her work. Yet sainthood awaited confirmation of a second miracle. In Brazil, a man named Marcilio suffered from multiple brain tumors and was comatose, an almost certain death sentence by medical standards. His courageous wife prayed fervently for Mother Teresa's intercession, beseeching the nun whom she believed could bring forth a miracle. Astonishingly, Marcilio fully recovered, with thorough medical tests unable to explain the remission. After careful scrutiny, Pope Francis approved this miracle in 2015. This final approval led to one of the most momentous days in recent church history, September 4, 2016. In the cool Roman air beneath the vast dome of St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Francis canonized Mother Teresa, declaring her a saint for the entire world. Thousands gathered in St. Peter's Square, a mosaic of races, creeds, languages, all united by a shared admiration for a woman who had lived with fierce and tender love. The Pope praised her as a saint for the world, a shining dispenser of divine mercy, whose example called each of us to be a light in the darkness of suffering. He spoke with profound reverence of Mother Teresa's deep mercy, the salt that gave flavor to her work, the light illuminating the darkness where many had no more tears to shed. His homily was a powerful reminder that sanctity is not just for the few, but a call to everyone to show mercy without limits, to love without borders. Her canonization ceremony during the Church's Year of Mercy was fitting, highlighting the essence of her life and mission. From the streets of Calcutta to the global stage, her legacy reminds the world that no human heart is too broken to receive love, no suffering too great to be met with compassion. Remarkably, the canonization process also brought her hidden struggles to light, revealing a woman who battled years of spiritual darkness, known as the dark night of the soul. Diaries released after her death revealed a soul wrestling with silence and doubt, yet refusing to abandon the path of service. This intimate glimpse makes her saintliness feel not distant or unattainable, but profoundly human and inspiring. Now, as the darkness deepens into the softest night and dreams beckon, embrace this truth. Sainthood is not perfection, but perseverance, love that chooses to stay even when hope seems faint. Mother Teresa's life and canonization are invitations to each heart to live with courage, humility, and relentless compassion. And so let her story rest softly in your heart, a lantern to carry through your days, to remind you that every simple act of kindness, every quiet sacrifice made with love, weaves together a tapestry of grace that transforms the world. When the morning sun rises, may you awaken with a spirit stirred to a revolution of mercy, a life touched forever by this story of unyielding love. As the world grows quieter and your mind drifts ever closer to rest. Let the final steps of Mother Teresa's journey to sainthood unfold like the soft petals of a flower, slow, graceful, and radiant with meaning. Her death in 1997 marked an end to her earthly mission, but from that moment a new path began to be charted, one of reverence, investigation, and awe. The Catholic Church's process of canonization is a journey few undertake, requiring patience, exacting scrutiny, and a profound searching of truth. Ordinarily, the Church waits 5 years after a person's death before opening a cause for sainthood. This time allows passions to settle and clear judgments to form. But in the extraordinary case of Mother Teresa, this period was shortened drastically. Pope John Paul II waived nearly 3 years of the waiting period, sensing not only the urgency of honoring her, but the massive groundswell of devotion kindled worldwide. In 1999, when the cause officially began, she received the title Servant of God. This first phase involved compiling a vast collection of documentation about her life, the equivalent of a meticulous biography. Some 76 documents amounting to over 35,000 pages were collected, including interviews with 113 witnesses who answered hundreds of detailed questions about everything from her personal traits to the impact of her work. Among these testimonies were both supporters who revered her as a living saint and critics who questioned her methods and theology. The process called for uncompromising honesty. The Church even invited skeptical voices to the fold, including the late Christopher Hitchens, a well-known critic of Mother Teresa. Despite his allegations that her intentions were misguided, investigators found no obstacle sufficient to prevent her beatification. In 2001, Pope John Paul II declared Mother Teresa venerable, recognizing that she had lived a life of heroic virtue, but the journey to beatification and canonization hinged on miracles, events proven beyond scientific explanation that proved her intercession from heaven. The first miracle was the healing of Monica Bezra, an Indian woman suffering from a large abdominal tumor. Conventional doctors had given up hope, but on the first anniversary of Mother Teresa's death in 1998, a miraculous medal that had been touched to Mother Teresa's body was placed on Monica's abdomen. The tumor vanished inexplicably soon after. While some doctors argued the tumor was cured by medication, others accepted medical testimony declaring it miraculous. This complex debate unveiled the tension between faith and science, but ultimately led to official Vatican approval of the miracle in 2002. That approval allowed the Church to proceed to beatification. On October 19, 2003, Mother Teresa was beatified in a massive ceremony that drew thousands to St. Peter's Square in Rome. She was declared blessed, now venerated publicly, and seen as a heavenly intercessor. Yet, the final elevation to sainthood required a second miracle, which happened in Brazil. Marcilio, a man who suffered multiple brain tumors and entered a coma, was miraculously healed after his wife prayed for Mother Teresa's intercession. His complete recovery baffled medical experts and was carefully screened by Vatican officials. In 2015, Pope Francis approved this recognition, paving the way for Mother Teresa's canonization. On September 4, 2016, in a ceremony filled with majesty and humility, Pope Francis declared Mother Teresa a saint, Saint Teresa of Calcutta. Thousands gathered in St. Peter's Square from all over the world, united in awe and reverence for a woman who had poured out her life for the poorest and most forgotten. The Pope described her as a channel of divine mercy, whose light shines brightest where darkness is deepest. He called upon all to emulate her unfailing love, gentle courage, and compassionate presence. This canonization was historic, not only for the grandeur of the ceremony, but because it occurred during the Church's Year of Mercy, a time dedicated to forgiveness, healing, and love, the very pillars of Mother Teresa's life and mission. Her canonization brought to light her deeply human struggles, the long spiritual darkness she endured, moments when prayer felt empty and God seemed silent. Yet her faithfulness never wavered. This vulnerability makes her story one that resonates beyond religion, offering hope to anyone grappling with doubt, pain, or silence. In the stillness of night, let this story remind you that sanctity is not about being perfect, but about faithfully walking the path of love, even when it is shrouded in uncertainty. Mother Teresa's story is an invitation to kindle compassion in our own hearts, to offer ourselves as simple vessels of grace and mercy. As sleep carries you gently away, imagine her walking beside you, barefoot and unarmed, but radiating the quiet power of love, a power that transforms lives, mends broken spirits, and lights the way in the darkest hours. May you awaken inspired to live with the same humility and courage, embodying tiny acts of great love that ripple across the world in unseen but powerful ways. As the night deepens and whispers weave around you like a soft blanket, the story of Mother Teresa moves beyond canonization into the living legacy she left behind, a legacy that continues to ripple through the hearts of millions worldwide. Her death in 1997 marked only the beginning of the profound ways her life would inspire and challenge the world. In the years following, the Missionaries of Charity, the order she founded, grew exponentially. From humble beginnings with just a handful of sisters caring for the dying in Calcutta's slums, today it spans over 760 convents in more than 130 countries. Around 5,000 sisters continue to carry her mission forward, caring for orphans, HIV/AIDS patients, the homeless, and refugees, offering tender love where it is needed most. But her impact goes beyond the physical reach of her order. She became a symbol of deep compassion and radical charity, a living example of the gospel in action. As the world grappled with the widening gap between rich and poor, her voice reminded humanity of the urgent need to serve the poorest of the poor. Even skeptics and critics have been compelled to respect the tangible difference she made in countless lives. Mother Teresa's canonization brought new light to these ongoing efforts. Declared Saint Teresa of Calcutta, her name became a rallying cry for mercy and love, transcending borders. Pope Francis hailed her as a dispenser of divine mercy, emphasizing that her life bore witness to the truth that the greatest among you must be the servant of all. But what did this mean for the millions who had never stepped foot in Calcutta's dusty streets? Her sanctity invited everyone to ponder, how can we be channels of love in our own corners of the world? Her simple but profound teaching, do small things with great love, echoes like a tender challenge, inviting each heart to become a wellspring of kindness. In India, her home beyond birth, this canonization bore special significance. Despite not being born in India, she became an honorary citizen and was widely beloved as a mother to its poorest citizens. The Indian government honored her with the Bharat Ratna, the country's highest civilian award, reflecting the immense gratitude borne by millions. Her life and legacy continue to inspire many across India and beyond, reminding people that even amid intense poverty and hardship, love can shine bright. Yet, as with all great figures, her legacy sparked conversation and reflection. While many celebrated her saintly life, some questioned aspects of her mission, criticisms about the medical care in her homes, her conservative views on abortion, and the complexities of serving those in extreme poverty. These dialogues reveal the layered reality of any life lived boldly and with conviction. But perhaps one of the most enduring aspects of her legacy is her extraordinary humility in the face of fame. Even as millions worldwide revered her, she lived simply, never seeking personal glory, always emphasizing that her work was not about her, but about the people she served. She once said, "I am a little pencil in the hand of a writing God who is sending a love letter to the world." This image of a humble instrument guided by love's hand offers a beautiful lesson to us all. Her personal struggles became part of this legacy too, revealed particularly in her diaries where she chronicled decades of spiritual darkness, a profound sense of abandonment by God that many saints and mystics have endured. Yet in this darkness, she continued her work undeterred, a light of perseverance and faith despite the silence. This paradox within Mother Teresa's soul invites us to witness the complexity of holiness, not as something flawless, but as something steadfast and courageous. She teaches us that even in our deepest struggles and darkest nights, the call to love remains. Her legacy manifests today not just in the ongoing work of the Missionaries of Charity, but also in the countless volunteers, nurses, doctors, and ordinary people inspired by her example. From small acts of kindness in hospitals to global initiatives fighting poverty and oppression, her influence continues to flow like a mighty river, quiet but unstoppable. What might this mean for the viewer resting now in comfort, but holding a heart capable of change? Mother Teresa's story is a call not only to grand gestures, but to daily acts of mercy, to looking beyond ourselves to the forgotten, the lonely, the suffering. It is a reminder that true greatness is found not in power or prestige, but in humble service and steadfast love. Imagine the ripple effect of just one gesture of kindness becoming thousands, millions, transforming the fabric of communities and nations. This is the enduring spirit Mother Teresa awakened in the world. As you drift into sleep, feel this inspiration gently settle, a quiet revolution of the heart that asks only for your willingness to love, to serve, to be present. Her life whispers through time, urging each soul to remember, no one is ever too small, too weak, or too ordinary to make a difference. When morning comes, may you awaken with a renewed heart, ready to carry forward the legacy of love she ignited, a legacy that needs souls like yours to continue shining bright. As the night stretches on softly, carrying you with whispers of peace and calm, the story of Mother Teresa blooms into its fullest glory, the profound, far-reaching impact she left on the world, carried forth by countless hearts touched and lives transformed. Her life of radical love and humility was not merely a narrative confined to history books or sacred texts, but a living, breathing force still echoing across continents, cultures, and generations. From the narrow, crowded streets of Calcutta to remote corners of the globe, her footsteps, though physically past, remain immortalized by the charity she planted and the hope she inspired. Begin by imagining the very place where her mission took root, the city of Calcutta. A place both dazzling and devastating, a place where the gleam of life and the grit of desperation exist side by side. Mother Teresa walked there, barefoot and unarmed, seeking the most destitute, the dying without care, the abandoned children, the unloved elderly. In 1950, she founded the Missionaries of Charity with just a dozen sisters, a simple home for those whose society had forgotten. This home became a sanctuary of love, a place where people could die with dignity, love, and prayer. Year by year, decade by decade, what was once a small congregational effort blossomed into a monumental force. By the time of her death in 1997, the Missionaries of Charity had grown to thousands of members spread across more than 120 countries. Today, the order boasts over 5,000 sisters, running hundreds of homes and missions that provide care for lepers, HIV/AIDS patients, orphans, refugees, and street children. They run soup kitchens, hospices, schools, and clinics, often in the most dangerous and impoverished regions of the world. Mother Teresa's work was never bound by religious or cultural barriers. In Lebanon, fiercely divided by civil war, she crossed lines of sectarian conflict, offering care to children regardless of their Christian or Muslim backgrounds, embodying her core belief that love transcends division. During the height of the AIDS epidemic, When stigma and fear prevailed, she established homes for those afflicted, reaching out to those society shunned in their darkest hours. These actions broke barriers and challenged prejudices, showing a world what true mercy means. But her impact did not only reside in deeds, it was deeply rooted in a philosophy of universal love and human dignity. Mother Teresa defined charity not merely as giving money or supplies, but as offering one's heart to another fully and without condition. She championed the simple truth that every person, no matter how poor or suffering, deserves to be treated with respect, kindness, and compassion. "We can do no great things," she said, "only small things with great love." Reflect softly on these words now, for they hold the key not only to understanding her life, but to understanding a life well lived. Greatness is not measured by wealth, status, or grand achievements. It is measured by the capacity to love deeply and faithfully in the moment-to-moment struggles of ordinary life. Mother Teresa's life also intersected powerfully with the world of fame and power. By the 1970s, she had become an international celebrity. A BBC documentary called Something Beautiful for God introduced her to global audiences, capturing the humble nun's extraordinary heart. She met presidents and princes, popes and paupers, always carrying the same message: each person is valuable, each act of love is sacred. Despite her fame, she remained fiercely humble. She rejected personal wealth and comfort, and refused to let the spotlight distract from the suffering around her. When she received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979, she declined the traditional ceremony's banquet and directed the prize money to feeding the hungry. This humility became her hallmark, a reminder that true service seeks no glory, only the love of those served. Yet, amid accolades and admiration, Mother Teresa faced controversy and criticism. Some accused her of providing insufficient medical care in her homes. Others questioned her conservative views on abortion and contraception. These debates revealed the complexities of a life lived boldly amid the contradictions of the world, facing both adoration and challenge without wavering from her mission. Her spiritual life bore hidden depths of struggle. Diaries revealed years of spiritual darkness, moments when God's presence felt absent, a dark night of the soul. Yet she embraced this struggle as part of her journey, teaching us that faith is not the absence of doubt, but the courage to continue loving and serving in spite of it. Her canonization in 2016 by Pope Francis marked a global affirmation of her sanctity and symbolized a worldwide embrace of mercy, one of the defining virtues of our time. The canonization drew over 100,000 people to St. Peter's Square, including dignitaries and thousands of homeless, uniting around her story of hope and healing. Her feast day, September 5th, is now celebrated in many countries, inviting reflection on mercy in everyday life. Mother Teresa's legacy beckons us still in our own ways and places. It is an open invitation to embody compassion in actionable terms, to see the faces behind the statistics, to reach out to those suffering in silence, and to recognize each person's inherent value. What might that mean for you? Perhaps it's as simple as a kind word to a stranger, a gift of time to the lonely, a refusal to turn away from pain in whatever form it takes. In loving as she loved, the small acts become extraordinary. Her life challenges us to consider, how can love become the axis around which our own daily lives revolve? How can mercy become our first response rather than a last resort? How does this story inspire a revolution, not of violence, but of kindness, humility, and relentless hope? As sleep carries you into dreams, may Mother Teresa's story settle like a quiet flame in your heart, a light to guide your steps and inspire your days. When morning comes, may you awaken with renewed purpose, ready to live simply, love deeply, and serve faithfully, carrying forward the legacy of one woman's radical love, transforming the world one small act at a time.